Most excellent. Most excellent. Most excellent. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. What an exciting day. Always. Every day is exciting, but some seem to be less or more exciting than others, but I think that's just perceptual. I don't think it's actually so. And that's the key, is to arrange our perceptions, our moods, our energies in such a way that we always connect to that maximum magic and excitement. Always. Bina should be here soon. Let's hope Syl comes again. That'd be fantastic. I love it when you come, Syl. Maybe we get lucky and Lisa comes and joins us too. I expect Norma to be here in any second now. I hope so. Norma. I hope so. I have an important topic I wish to discuss today. I just want to give it a second here for them to join. Kambina, where are you? You said you're coming. Just ping her. All right. We are live, Bina. Oh, there she is. I believe there she is. Yes. Brilliant. Perfect timing, Bina. Perfect timing. Wonderful. What have we been discussing, Bina? What have we been discussing? Ah, here she comes. I'm a bit too soon. I'm a bit too quick. Wonderful. Perfect timing. Good morning, Bina. Good morning.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the day of adventure.
Look at that. Bina can just go straight into an introduction. What are we discussing, Bina? What's our theme? What was sort of on our mind before we came on here? Just a continuation, maybe two of yesterday, etc. Just to fill in a bit. Yeah, what we were doing.
Okay. Before coming here, of course, we were busy doing other stuff we were involved in, and then the discussion was about, like, it was a multitasking we both were doing.
Yeah.
The regular stuff that we were discussing also, and the discussion was about how our mind are so attuned with having discussion only with agreements. This is something we are so attuned that, okay, if we agree, then we can discuss and we can explore things. When we disagree, then it's a trouble for us. It's a stress for us. And then discussion is no fun, no joy. This is the condition we have in our minds, so fixed. Our minds are so fixated into this thing that, okay, if we are not agreeing on something, it means that this discussion is not positive, and this interaction is not positive, and we cannot have fun. I was also there, not entirely, but because from the very early age, this is something I never understand, that why people get so annoyed with this thing that, okay, if I say no, I don't like, just for an analogy, that, okay, you like fruits and I don't like them.
Quickly, let me interrupt you to say hello to Ramsey. Ramsey is in the house.
Hello, Ramsey. Hello, Ramsey.
Keep going, Bina. Keep going.
I assume that you are there. I'm not looking at.
Yes.
So I assume that you are there. Hello, Norma. Thank you so much for your beautiful comments. Thank you so much. You actually add so much value to the post, and also so much. You actually gave me so much to think about. So thank you so much for sharing. These are always valuable. So what I was saying, that, okay, we assume that the discussion and interaction should starts and go on and ends with all agreement. Then it's a positive discussion or interaction. Then it is only then it is there's something valuable for us and we want to connect. But discussions can be pleasant, joyful, valuable without agreeing on anything.
Mm.
And there are so many things in my culture which is completely strange for Syl, for sure, for Norma, for Ramsey, maybe you or also, and of course all of others. And there are so many things in your culture which are completely strange for me. I cannot understand that. Okay, why these things are.
Yes,
But really, does it matter? No.
exactly.
Me,
No.
that is something I don't know why. Maybe this is how my mind get attuned with. Maybe it is my upbringing. That for me, when I'm discussing with anyone, his or her gender, his or her culture, his or her age, his or her race, anything which actually, for me, these are trivial things.
Well,
Doesn't make any difference. Then why a difference of opinion should make a difference? No, he or she is sharing their,
doesn't
okay,
change the goodness of the person.
they are sharing their perspective, and it's a perspective. Actually, they
Yeah,
are adding value. They are giving me a different perspective. So I can
exactly,
this side
exactly.
also like, okay, oh, okay, so I was thinking from this side, but this can
Yeah,
also be this. Oh, so they add value, they give me
yeah.
awareness, they give me more knowledge. And this has to be celebrated. We should
Yes,
not,
yes.
I'm just saying that we must not feel stressed with disagreements. Okay,
Yeah,
we can
yeah,
disagree with things. We don't need that. Because for
yeah,
me, when I'm asking for an agreement, it is something I'm asking for validation. It means that
yeah,
I'm not feeling fully trusted in my perspective. By
yeah,
default, by implication, I need to change that. I need to update myself because I don't have trust.
yeah,
Otherwise, any agreement is not needed
yeah.
because this is a well thought, thinking it through to the end perspective, or at least whatever perspective I'm having right now, according to my awareness. This is what appropriate
Yeah.
for me. If anything new will come, it can stay, of course, as long as something new and better will not come. That's it. So
All right.
I perceive that this is something I need to practice more. I need to learn more that having disagreements and still feel joy, still feel good about the discussion and interaction. I don't feel negative about this, but now
Yeah,
I am learning to be actually have more. It's like kind of a neutral thing. I would enjoy that. I want to learn to enjoy those discussions
mm,
where I don't need to apply capital D diplomacy. I don't need to update or sorry filter anything, and still can have interaction. Because mostly where we avoid disagreements because we have this subtle fear, this subconscious in our subconscious mind. We have a fear of losing that person. That's why we don't want any disagreement at all.
yeah,
First, we need to get rid of this fear that we will lose anything. So we need to build our relationship on more concrete basis than just agreements.
yeah, yeah.
This is the fear of
Say that sentence again, please. It's a very powerful
we,
sentence.
we need to build our relationship. Uh, mm, I just
On
can
more
use
concrete, you said.
on yes on more concrete basis than other than agreements. Like
Exactly.
agreements are trivial things. They cannot be the foundation of any relationship, any interaction. By
Yeah,
relationship, I'm just using this word. It can be your first big friendship. It can be your relation with people around you, your house help, your bakery person,
yeah,
whatever. I'm just saying that okay,
yeah.
any interaction must not build on just agreements. Agreements are good, but they are not, of course, necessary.
Right,
It just shows
right.
that, okay, how attuned we are.
They are good, but not necessary.
So this is what
And
we were
and
discussing before coming live.
yes, yes, and making that effort to resolve the
Exactly.
where we are, if we don't even think of them as disagreements, but where we are not fully understanding each other. And that's what I felt. It bothered me a bit about recent things, that we weren't focused on understanding. It was about settling or resolving disagreement. And I don't want to do that. I want to understand how it is that your perspective is different. I'm not looking to disagree with you. I'm looking to understand. And this is a very big deal. It's a very big shift. But of course, both need to be focused, or all 3, 10, 100 need to be focused on understanding rather than on trying to agree or disagree. Yeah, I'm not trying to communicate my point. I'm trying to get to understanding, and that's a very different thing. Yes, so I share where I'm at because we got to start somewhere. And basically, I'm saying, here's a brick, and then you put the brick into the pile, and then other put the brick into the pile, and then we start to sort the bricks and say, okay, all right, let's use these ones for the foundation, and so we start to build with those bricks. This is, to me, what discussion is about: building, building, building. Not to say your brick is right, mine is wrong. That's agree, disagree. It's totally a waste of time. It doesn't get us anywhere. All I end up is knowing what I knew when I started, right? And I already knew what I knew. So what is this? Simply to affirm what I know and say, well, yours is wrong, mine is right. What have I gained? Absolutely nothing. It's a waste of time. Except ego. Oh, I'm right. Well, my ego can do without that. Thank you. My ego's been trained to not be bothered by such stuff. Yeah. So it's a big deal, right?
But
To say, let's focus on understanding rather than agree or not agree. So when I say I don't understand, I'm not saying I don't agree. It's a very big difference. I don't care to agree or disagree. It's irrelevant. When we come to understanding, agreement and disagreement just disappear. Right, Bina?
yes, and also it can be sometimes that what you are sharing, that to point to understand, you are sharing your understanding, and the other person in communication might be thinking that you are not understanding the way they are understanding things. So their argument is not about disagreement or agreement. They are just assuming that I might not understanding from their point of view, or what your understanding is not well according to them. This can be a situation. Of course, it is natural. It can happen. In those situations, again, first thing, just to make the obvious really obvious is a big deal.
Exactly. And check.
Mostly we assume that this is the dirt thing. This is the dirt thing. Why don't you guys just look at it? But it's an assumption. We need to make the obvious truly obvious, because sometimes the most important thing can get completely invisible to us.
And also, Bina, to check the obvious.
Second
like
thing
for me, this is what like I always do, takeaways, and I think things over and think them through. And I was thinking about things, and I was saying to Bina, and Bina said, yeah, I've been thinking about this. And I said to Bina, what are you thinking about? Bina said, no. I said, what? Really? Not teasing Bina, but
yes,
but
I was not thinking about this.
yeah, well, I was, because there was something unresolved for me in it. Now, Bina was resolved, which is wonderful. But for me, I wasn't. And what I wasn't resolved with was the fact that I was assuming that others have thought the thing through to the end the way I have. Or
That
thought
was
just not even to the end, but even just thought past step 1, past step 2. And this is a habit for me to make that effort to think past the obvious. Yes, but I assume that others do this also, and that assumption of the obvious, but it wasn't obvious, led to me not understanding how somebody's not kind of basically understanding what I'm saying. Because when you say the obvious and somebody doesn't get it, you're like, huh, what's going on here? Right? And I was just assuming that step 2, step 3 had been thought of when they hadn't. And so this is important, to not assume that others are thinking the way you are thinking, right?
Exactly.
For good or bad. Don't assume that what is obvious to you is obvious to others. So check the obvious, in other words.
Yes. Yes, yes, check
Check
the
the
obvious,
obvious.
getting
Check
some
the
really,
obvious.
really
Yeah, yeah,
huge,
yeah. Now, to get real
huge,
sophisticated on
huge
this. Oh, sorry, Bina.
point in our understanding, in our consciousness. Oops, it's my bad.
No. It's just the lag caused the hassle there. Keep going.
No, please continue. You were saying. I cut you off.
That's it, really. I was just saying to check the obvious. Oh, to not only check the obvious when there's a bit of stickiness in a discussion, but to check the obvious when it's all smooth too. Because if you're just saying, yes, I agree, how do I know that you are actually agreeing? You might be thinking you agree, but what is obvious to you is something else than what's obvious to me, right? So we need to check both when it's, especially, of course, when there's friction or stress or lack of communication or non-fluidity. That's a better word, non-fluidity. But even when there is fluidity, we need to check as well. In other words, we need to always be checking the obvious. This is what repeat backs are all about. Yeah. To check the obvious. Yeah.
Yes. I want to add something.
Please.
Because I was taking time maybe for the lagging. Anyway, this thing that your assumption that others also thinking like you. The first thing, of course, not like you. No one can think like other people. They can try
Exactly.
just to understand their perspective. But no one can think like other person because it is our perspective mostly comes from the context. Of course, we need to have that context from which they are coming from. The other thing is that thinking it through to the end. This is, of course, the most profound mechanism. But it is, of course, it is very personal. When I ask you that thinking it through to the end till when, how we can actually understand, and you responded that till your conscience is clear.
Yes.
Okay, and then you say, okay, I have done. So
Yes.
sometimes people do that and they didn't get the perspective other than what they have. So I'm not assuming that they are not trying to think it through to the end, but this is
Wow.
sometimes things just happen like the way it is. Because the mostly in communication, what I have observed, it could be totally wrong, and they, of course there must be so many other reasons also. But the most important one, when we get something really completely a new thing, a new perspective, or a new problem, whatever it is, when it gets something new in our consciousness, in our awareness, it becomes like a red floodlight, and everything else gets into the background because our whole body, our whole mind, our whole energy wants to resolve that or address at least that first,
Wow.
because it actually just dark everything other than itself.
Wow.
Because people are sometimes not able to see the other perspective. That's why they say that okay, having multiple perspective, more perspective is a superpower. It's
Exactly.
it's a it's a
Exactly.
superpower, really, because
Yes. Yes.
this my maybe it is by default, by design, human mind is like that. When they get something new, it the whole attention, whole energy, everything get focused on just one thing, and that
Wow.
thing become like a spotlight, and then everything around that gets into the dark. So
Wow.
maybe
Wow.
that is also just want to add something about that. That is something I was keen to add into, that thinking it through to the end, that person might be trying to thinking it through to the end. Anyway, the other
Wow.
thing, after making the obvious really obvious, the second is power pause. Power pause
Yes.
is a
Yes.
superpower. Again, is a superpower because it
Yes.
allows us to take our power back to us. Whenever we
Yes.
react, we give up our powers.
Yes.
But when we respond, when we take a power pause before any response, we take our power back to us. And then when we
Wow.
focus on us, we get it immediately, we get into the positive mindset, because when we focus on others and their perspective, by default our subconscious mind keeps saying that okay, it's a threat, it's an attack,
Wow.
so defend it. But when we focus on ourselves, we feel comfortable. So immediate stress release the moment we take a power pause. That okay, yes, I'm just taking a power pause. Right there, we take our
Yes.
powers back. from other things, from any
Yes.
external
Yes.
stimulation like triggers, buttons pushing, walls, and
Yes.
nothing.
Yes.
We can
Listen to what
calm.
Bina's saying
And
here. This is
that
super
that is
powerful.
where that is where we become absolutely receptive. By receptive, again, it is not surrendering. It is a receptivity we choose. And it is not a blind receptivity, like, okay, yes, I'm just going to be whatever it is going to come,
Yeah.
I'm going to accept it. No, it is like just receiving a gift from any postal service. When
No.
someone anyone who is dear to you send you a gift, what we do? We simply, with excitement, just sign the receipt and say, okay, yes, I want to open this. We don't say, oh no, I
Yes.
want to check first.
Yes.
Oh, what it will be a bomb or something. We never even it never occurred to our mind because we are receptive. So receive
No.
first, dissect it later. This is
Correct.
receptivity. The whole
Correct.
receptivity
Correct.
is.
Correct.
So we do
Correct.
check, or
Yeah.
even
Yes.
maybe
Yes.
some dear
Yes.
friends do some mean, nasty
Yes.
pranks on us, can do that.
Well, or they could
Receiving
just be
first,
well-meaning and
dissecting
say,
later.
like, I'm going to receive this ugly dress, but I'm not going to wear it. Thank you very much for the gift. Right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Right. So you receive it, but that
Exactly.
doesn't mean that you're going to use it or wear it or, keep on it. So, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, receptivity is not necessarily taking it in, using it, making it your own.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
It's just opening the package. That's all. But also
Exactly.
opening the
Receiving,
package with good
receiving.
expectation, good intent.
Exactly.
Yes. You are going
Yes,
to
that it
take
all
for
makes sense.
granted that what's in the package is good and makes sense. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Very important. A nice analogy, Bina. Nice analogy. Wonderful analogy. All right. I want to talk about something else, and I might talk about it again. It's a big topic.
Yes.
And it's
Before you go, so
yes.
sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no
But
problem.
because
Never.
it's today is my mama's birthday, so I'm going
Oh,
to have dinner with her, and then I will come back. So it's a
oh,
family
you're
time.
going right
I'm
now?
taking a. I'm going to. Yes, of course, I'm going to
Oh,
come
good.
back like in
Yeah,
20
yeah,
minutes.
yeah. Oh, no problem. You enjoy
Yeah.
and say happy birthday to Mama from me and from everybody.
Thank
I'll
thank
just on
you.
their behalf too. I'm sure Norma would
Thank
wish her
you.
happy birthday. She was here, and
Yes.
Sherwood and Cheryl would and Ramsey would and everybody
Yes.
would, So
Oh yeah. Thank you
wonderful.
so much,
Yeah.
everyone,
Oh,
in
absolute
advance.
pleasure.
Yes. Thank
Absolute
you.
pleasure. Absolute
Okay. I'll
pleasure.
be here in
All
20
right.
minutes more.
All right. See you later, Norma. I'm Vina. Yeah, Norma too. I think Norma's traveling actually. She said she has to go somewhere. And which is why she's not here right now, unless I missed her. Yeah, yeah. Ramsey, is you and I, which is wonderful. I want to talk about a complex topic before I continue with the capital R reading, and it is connected, and it is in a very, very subtle way connected to what's going on with Camellius. But I see this in other circumstances very often. It's not so obvious with Camellius because he's not particularly focused on it directly. And this is the fear of loss. Now, I don't mean loss as in loss like when somebody dies. We say, oh, we lost them. Well, I don't know. We didn't lose them. They just transitioned. They're still with you. They're still in your heart, in your memory, in your mind. But I'm not talking about death. Yes, I'm talking about like loss of a job. That's a good example to use. It could be loss of a relationship, loss of a job, a loss of a circumstance, a situation, a status, like in Camellius's case. Yes, it's all connected. So this fear of the loss is not necessarily, in the sense of we fearing something that something's negative is going to happen. The topic that I'm talking about is very specific in that it is the fear of losing something positive. Yeah. Now, I have a wonderful job and I'm afraid to lose that job. Yeah. Now, what happens? What happens? If this job is super huge and awesome and fantastic, and it's the best thing ever. Yes. And you love this job and it is incredible. And it's just like what you waited for your whole life. Now we have a very peculiar complexity. And I really want to emphasize this, right? So before I go further, I want to emphasize a peculiar complexity that arises. I've already set this up by definition to say this is a job that you love. Could be a relationship, could be a situation, a home, doesn't matter, whatever it is. Something that you truly love dearly. That's a massive big deal. And you're afraid of losing it. Yes. Now, it's a positive that you're afraid of losing. The peculiarity, the complexity is in such situations, people peculiarly behave in such a way as to lose the very thing that they don't wish to lose. Let me repeat that. They behave in such a way so as to lose the very thing they do not wish to lose. In other words, they self-sabotage. But not self-sabotage as in themselves directly, but they sabotage the situation in order to bring about the very worst thing that they want to have happen. And you're like, come on, that doesn't make any sense. Why on earth would you do that? Ramsey, are you with me here? I'm keen to get a bit of feedback so that I can get some gauge on whether or not I'm communicating my point effectively. So I'm keen to hear if you're just with me or not, right? And at this point, I want to just pause here, wait for a comment from Ramsey if he's still here. Right? Now you say, but why? Why so? Why would somebody sabotage and mess with the very thing that they want the most? There's a good reason. This is the complexity. If I am daily enjoying the thing that I have, and it's so wonderful, it's so awesome, it's so overwhelming, but at the same time, I'm also constantly, continuously experiencing this fear of losing it. And the fear is a very real fear. And because of a life of living more with fear than with joy, the fear tends to be more pressing, more prominent, more direct, right? So now we are living in fear, even though we have our dream, our desire, our greatest wish. But we are living in fear. And it's not fun. It's not pleasant. Yes. It's an incredible thing. It's an incredible thing. Being Ramsey, does this make sense what I'm saying so far, right? I'm going to go a little further in a moment, but I just want to go step by step and make sure that my explanation makes sense. So now we have somebody who's got what they want, their dream, their ideal, they're awesome. And they end up living in fear because they're afraid of losing it. So they, as much as they enjoy that, they also constantly live in fear, because the more they enjoy, the more they fear to lose the joy, right? So the more you love it, the more you enjoy it, the greater the fear. The two go together because they're associated. It's a dreadful association. Now what happens, because that fear is constant, ongoing, constant, pressing you all the time, you do things which say, okay, yeah, all right, and it's over, it's gone, it's done. It's right. In other words, you do things which can end this connection to what you have. Why? Because it reduces the fear. When I don't have the job anymore, I'm not in the relationship anymore, for whatever reason, it's over, it's over, it's over. Now I can say, oh, I can release from the fear. And that release from the fear is a huge deal. Yes, as anybody knows who's been living under constant fear, when the thing is released or it goes away, it's like, it's a massive deal. And of course, the emphasis of that in the brain as a positive is huge. So the brain has remembered this from previous times, and it seeks that experience again. Two complexities. One, getting rid of the constant anxiety and pressure that's produced by having this wonderfulness in the life. And two, that fix from the release of fear. It's a very positive emotion, but it's like a drug. It's like taking a drug and you get that high, right? It's a temporary high from removing a negative. But the brain remembers it because it was so profoundly emphasized, because you may have gone years and then suddenly you had this profound relief and it's like, man, this was the best thing ever. Now you seek that again. So this is how people come to sabotage having the wonderful job, having a wonderful relationship, whatever, right? And it makes no sense. And they know it. and it's very peculiar. And sadly, they can sometimes end up losing the very best things in their lives because they are looking to release and remove that negativity and to get that fix of the release of negativity. Yes. Well, I'm hoping this makes sense. I'm going to go over it again. It's a complex point. When one, and Ramsey says in comment 2, does it make sense? When one constantly thinks of anything, you're attracted to your life. Exactly. Exactly. Constantly thinking of the loss of it, you start to create the very things that will lead to the loss because you're expecting it to happen in a sense. When you keep thinking of losing something, you're calling it to your life, and the probability of losing it materializes. Exactly. At least this is what I realized. Yes, exactly, Ramsey. So that undue attention is there. And the moral of the story is, or the takeaway, the action is to say, if you have something wonderful in your life, and treat it as a bonus, as a magic. If you lose it, you lose it, and just be resigned to it. It might happen, but yeah, that's life, right? It is what it is, but you can't be living in fear of losing it. Simply live in joy of having it. To say, man, I don't know if I'm going to have this forever. I may or may not. You don't want to say, well, all good things come to an end. You don't even say that. You say, it may or may not. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. What I do know is that I have it now and that I can enjoy it fully and to the maximum now. Celebrate it every single day. That's what I was doing with Bina the other day when I said, Bina, I'm so thrilled you here. Actually, I said, I'm really pleased you here. And it was very sincere, very meant it. Now, I say this quite often to Bina, but she just happened to notice it particularly on that particular day. Because I take nothing for granted. I really make an effort to celebrate and appreciate when everything that's wonderful. Like when I go out my door, I say, hello, world. When I wake up, I'm pretty much say, hello, world. I appreciate just the world around me. Why do I do this? Because of exactly this. I wish to emphasize and continue to emphasize and pay attention to the goodness. The more I do so, the more I bring it into my life. Yes. And also through developing the habit of emphasizing and taking and appreciating that which otherwise might be taken for granted, I am using emphasis to train my brain to notice the good things around me. The more my brain is noticing positivity and goodness, the less space there is for it to notice negativity and nonsense and focus on stuff that's unnecessary to focus on, like fear of losing. Yes, it can happen, but it's only when you get a bit obsessed with it that it becomes a fear. Other than that, it's just a possibility. Possibility, not a probability. Don't make it into a probability by focusing on it. That's what happens. When you focus on the fear of losing, you make it into a probability rather than a possibility. You shift it, you change it, right? And sadly, I see people self-sabotaging. They themselves cause it to happen because they can't live with that constant stress of the anxiety of when is it going to end? When is it going to end? When is it going to end? Is it going to end? Because they're already in that mindset of when is it going to end? They want it over. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know if you got hidings at school. Well, it's like if you have to wait for the hiding, it's a lot worse than just getting it and getting it done and getting it over with, right? That constant waiting, knowing something bad is going to happen. And this is very, very highly stressful. So people want to get it over with. They don't want to sit and wait for it forever and have this constant stress. But this is unfortunately not necessary, yet they believe it to be. So all it is, it's a matter of training the brain with appropriate emphasis. Shift to emphasizing the positive. That's why I emphasize unrelenting positivity, unrelenting, not just being positive, unrelenting positivity. Now, when I mean positivity, I don't mean cheerfulness. No, I don't mean that. That's not appropriate. Positivity is also sobriety. In the full sense of the word, nothing to do with alcohol. Sobriety meaning a super sensibility, but that super sensibility takes for granted that life is positive. Otherwise, there's no point in living if you don't assume that life is going to be positive in the future. So our unrelenting positivity is simply acknowledging the reality of matters. If we look back in history, well, life continued. May have had ups and downs, but life continued. In the overall, because it continued, anybody in the past could have been positive and said, well, life's going to continue. And also it gets better. If you look at history, our history is a history of things getting better. So sobriety is simply acknowledging the realism of things getting better all the time. Why? Because everybody's trying to make things better for the most part. So it's like, duh, they're going to get better. Everybody's making that effort. They don't always succeed, but they make the effort, right? We're trying to make our lives better. We're trying to improve the world. So my point here is that we want to have unrelenting positivity, which is the same thing as saying unrelenting sobriety. You can't let up, you can't let up, you can't let up. And by training your brain to focus this way, especially with sobriety being something that acknowledges everything, but it emphasizes the positive. When you have sobriety, you don't ignore nonsense and stuff. You pay attention to it because it can be trouble and you deal with it, right? That's sobriety. But you don't lose sight of the overall. This is why sobriety is different to sensibility. It's a bigger view. It's a longer term view, right? So yeah, I deal with a bit of nonsense, but it's a little bit of nonsense. Except, yeah, in the greater, bigger picture and scheme of things, there's so much more to celebrate and appreciate, right? Sobriety is seeing the bigger picture. Big deal, big deal. We want, and that in that bigger picture, there's always positivity, always, right? And when you understand the really big picture from the universe's point of view, how everything is set up and geared to be these gifts for you, to help you, to assist you in your growth and development of awareness and enhancement of awareness. Now everything becomes magical. How can you not be positive when you live in a magical world? This is absolutely huge. Norma says hi. Oh, why didn't the link work? All right. All right, brilliant. I'll recap this point in a moment here because I also want to share it with Norma. And Ramsey says, letting go and living peacefully is for me a must. Yes, Ramsey, absolutely. Living is association and disassociation, precisely. Emphasis and de-emphasis, exactly. And I'm okay with both, exactly. We have to be. We have to be. It's simply a matter of where we put our energy. Emphasis, de-emphasis, associate, disassociate. When you disassociate, you don't necessarily say it doesn't exist. It's not denial or ignoring. You simply don't interact. You acknowledge its reality. I just don't interact. Yes, there's a nest of wasps in the forest over here behind me. And right, I'm saying, okay, you know, well, waspies, you chill and hang in where you are. I'm going to be over here, right? Disassociate with you. I'm not going to go and mix with you. Yeah, thank you. So disassociation doesn't mean that I'm not aware they're there, because I don't want to go there and walk into their nest and cause them trouble, and then they cause me trouble, right? If I lose something, Ramsey says, I work on building something new. Precisely. It's positive. You don't really lose it. You acquire something new. That was something you had. Now you got something different, right? So I'm at peace with losing stuff because I can always build something better. Yes. And hello, Norma Moreness. Bina, by the way, earlier put out, if you listen to the replay, she put out a very big thank you to you. Bina was massively appreciative of your comments on her post. They really made a difference, because she was saying, you know, I put out the post and this is a post which is not just for me and my own benefit, like some other posts, which don't matter if people read them or not. Her moon texts, as she called them, those are posts which are for others as well, right? And if nobody's reading or bothering with them, then there's no point to doing it. In this case, right? Other posts she does for her own sake, messages to the universe, communication, sharing, etc. And those don't matter if people see. But this one, it doesn't matter, but it's the point of it. And so your comment and it was a big deal to her. Not only that you provided, you know, some valuable contribution and insight and stuff that made her think, but also that your appreciation and enjoyment of it, and the fact that it matters to you. Just you, said Bina. That's enough for her to keep going, if it's just you. So your comments were, you made 2 of them on her post there. Very powerful, very potent comments, Norma. And they were much appreciated by Bina, and she said so earlier, right? I'm re-emphasizing this. Now, I went over complexity. Well, it's not complexity itself that I'm discussing. It's the complexity of a particular, peculiar situation in life. And the situation that I'm talking about is the fear of losing something profoundly positive. And the example I used is like when we have this new job. For argument's sake, it could be anything. It could be, I don't know, a new car, a new relationship, I don't know, a new house, whatever, anything that you could possibly lose. When people, but it's so wonderful what you've got getting that you get so like, this is awesome, this is fantastic, this is brilliant. But because of historical thinking and conditioning and habits and all sorts of reasons, we also sometimes can simultaneously be loving what this thing is, enjoying the maximum out of it, appreciating, being thrilled and absolutely overjoyed at having this magic. But it's so huge that we then also have fear of losing it. And the two can coexist. Now, here's the problem. Because we have a history with fear, and with fear is associated with disaster and calamity, and it's a constant pressure and a stress. Whereas joy, we enjoy it, but it's not a stress. So the body wants to get rid of the stress. And what happens, sadly, is when that fear is such, it starts to grow, and it's a constant thing. It's a constant pressure. We want to get rid of this. So what happens, unfortunately, is that we end up sometimes sabotaging ourselves and causing problems so that we can get rid of the fear, which means we end up losing the thing that we have that's so magical. But you're not thinking of that because you're looking to get rid of the stress. Right? So subconsciously, you don't realize what you're doing even sometimes, and you end up sabotaging yourself because you want to get rid of that fear, right? Because that fear is a big deal. And also, when that fear is finally released, it's like, that's so huge. And that is a major emphasis of positivity. And it's like a drug fix. We want to get that feeling again because the brain remembers it as this wonderful, fantastic feeling when you get rid of the fear, right? And you're pursuing that. Now, of course, you can only get it by getting rid of the fear. But the key is don't have the fear in the first place. Therefore, the takeaway from this is when we have something magical and awesome and wonderful and fantastic in our lives, to not focus on losing it, to say to ourselves, yes, it's possible that I might lose it. I could. That's life. It may or may not be. It's not a guarantee. It's possible. All right. Well, everything is possible, right? It's also possible I could have it forever, right? They're all equally probable. But if I'm going to be focusing on the fear of losing it, I raise the probability of losing it. Why? Because attention brings things into our world, right? This is the more you focus on something, the more it comes in some way or another. That's just how life works. So we want to not be paying overly great attention to loss. We don't want to be paying any attention to loss. If it happens, so be it. However, when I shift to focusing on the positive and enjoying it and emphasizing my enjoyment and my love, I'm saying to my brain, this is what's important. I'm emphasizing my brain to be appreciative, to be enjoying, to be loving, to be thrilling, to be absolutely immersed in awe and wonder and excitement and joy, right? This is what I'm emphasizing. My attention is now on the positive, which means I get more positive. Yes. So it's very important to shift this habit to not say that I have to fear losing. That's a superiority paradigm logic that is not there. No, you don't have to fear losing. You can shift to appreciate having. Right? That's it. Just because you have something wonderful doesn't mean you have to fear losing it. This is a very poor logic. It's a horrible logic because it's actually going to guarantee pretty much that you will lose it. It's a very peculiar thing. Right? So we have to be very sophisticated in how we manage our attention and manage our emotions, manage our energy, which is what attention and emotion is. It's usage of energy. Yes. So this is impeccability, best use of energy. We want to be sophisticated in how we use our energy via emotions, via attention. Yeah. We want to therefore shift our focus to being unrelentingly positive. And like I said earlier, positivity here is sobriety, which means we aren't ignorant of the possibility. I know it's there, but I don't emphasize it. I de-emphasize it. I know the wasps are there, I de-emphasize it. And I'm not giving the wasp the stink eye and saying, you bad, evil wasps, and they may pick up on my vibes and then get annoyed with me and come and sting me. Okay, maybe it doesn't happen with wasps, but it happens in life. Yeah, well, it can happen with wasps too. Right? Sometimes animals can really see your intent, right? They're aware. If you're kind of negative and aggressive, they feel that. and then they get negative back. If they see you just still doing your own thing, then they just basically ignore you, right? And they go about their business. It's quite fascinating. So this is the same in life. We have to really manage our attention. We cannot be putting our attention onto fear. It just makes more of it. It's an inverse logic. We tend to think by paying attention to the fear, I'm going to make it go away. No, all you do is you grow it. It's like huffing and puffing around a fire. Yeah, if you huff and puff next to a fire, aren't you a bellows making the fire bigger and stronger? See? Fiddling with the fire, you make it, you know, you can't be giving the fire life with energy and attention, right? You can't be doing that. You can't feed the fire. Fear is a fire. You can't feed it. Any attention, that's what a fear grows on. That's what the fuel for a fire, the fire of fear is attention, energy. Don't fuel that fire, right? My point is, this is a very peculiar situation that involves this complexity, because you would think the very last thing that somebody would do when they acquire the greatest thing in their life, the wonderful, joy, awesome, magical, fantastic, is to go and sabotage themselves to not have that. You say that doesn't make any sense, but yes, yet this happens regularly. I've seen it many times because of that fear of loss. And the fear of loss creates such a big pressure. They want to get rid of the fear of loss. And the only way to get rid of the fear of loss is to not have the wonderful thing. It's really sad. And they end up in two different bubbles. You satisfy the bubble in one at the expense of the bubble in the other, but you don't necessarily realize it. So merge those two bubbles and say, no, fear, that's it. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. That's it. You know, that's life, right? I have to be a bit sanguine about that, a bit fatalistic. But again, that is what it is. At the same time, you may not lose it. There's equally much chance of you losing or not losing it, right? But don't add to the chances by focusing on the fear. If you focus on the fear, you add to the chances of losing it. And you may even actually cause it to be so. You add to it simply via attention. Attention makes things happen. Very, very, very powerful stuff. Yes, very, very powerful. And this is, in relating it to the story, this is what's happening with Camillus. He has gotten something really wonderful, and he has something really wonderful where he is, and he's afraid of losing it. And that fear of loss is distorting his perception. And also, he has something good, and something even more good has come along, but he can't replace one without thinking he's losing the other. So his fear of loss is a little bit more complex here. It's a bit more subtle, but it's still there. And that fear of loss is inhibiting from doing what Ursula does. Ursula said, yes, I'm not going to be president of my planet. I'm not going to be the wealthiest person on my planet anymore. I'm not going to be a celebrity that everybody looks up to with accomplishments and status and everybody thinks is wonderful. It wasn't a loss to her. She never saw it as a loss. She sees this, she didn't even think of it in terms of loss or gain. She simply sees being on Nobelia is a massive gain over what she had. That's all. She's thinking, I had wonderful, I've got more wonderful. But Camillus is saying, I had wonderful. If I go into the new, I'm going to lose my old wonderful. Either or thinking, comparative thinking. No, no, no. It's not helpful, Camillus. Not helpful. It's a problem. There are other problems with Camillus, but that's one of them. It's very powerful to understand. So we want to really understand this. It's a very subtle, deep, complex point. Any questions, Ramsey? Any thoughts, Ramsey? Bina? Bina's enjoying lunch with her mom. It's her mom's birthday. She'll be back, though. Any questions, Norma? Any comments, Norma, on this before I move on to doing the capital R reading again? It's a very big point. It's a huge, huge, basic, fundamental psychological point, but it's a complex psychology. And we want to understand it because it involves these two separate bubbles. And when you're immersed in the one, you're not aware of the other, and vice versa. Yeah, and that's very powerful. So another part of the complexity is that it is compartmentalized typically. Bubble awarenesses. So when you're in the one, you don't see the other one. And so you could make a decision in the one that can completely contradict and negate the decisions in the other. Yeah. Oh, thank you on Bina's behalf. I did wish Mom through Bina on your behalf already, Ramsey. See, I knew you would say that. And Norma too. Just how you guys are, you know. All right, no comment. Cooking and listening. Wonderful, wonderful. What are you cooking, Mina? What are you cooking, Norma? All right, well, then you have to comment. All right, never mind. Yeah, I understand when you're cooking, you can't type, so no problem. You can tell me later what you're cooking. I'm keen to know. I'm keen to know. All right, but I'm keen to hear your comments on this point, and if need be, we'll go over it again as many times as is needed. It is a complex point. It seems simple on the one hand, but it is complex on the other hand. And whenever we are dealing with points that involve fragmented awareness, bubble awareness, they can be very tricky because you can see it as obvious, but yet the actual application becomes difficult. So this is something you just have to go over it and over it until it really sticks and gets through. It's a very big point, very big point. Hey, my connection is unstable. All right, we'll get some therapy connection. My little joke for myself, whenever I see that, the joke comes up in my head. Anyway, that's just me and my lame humor sometimes. But I have fun with it. I have fun with it. All right, let's continue with the reading. Broccoli and mushroom fettuccine pasta. All righty then. Go Norma. Go Norma. Go Norma. I love it when I hear what people cook, even though that sounds dreadfully horrible to me to eat. You know, but I love it that it makes Norma happy. You know, I think this is something that's a deep skill and one I'm very happy to have acquired, is to be able to take joy out of something giving joy for somebody else, even though it gives me no joy. Like broccoli. I mean, you can torture me to eat broccoli. Yes, that will be very effective torture. But I love it that it makes Norma happy. But I see, unfortunately, that if something doesn't make somebody happy themselves, like they don't like broccoli, they can't enjoy others enjoying broccoli. I don't get that. It doesn't make any sense to me. But, you know, like I said, it's a skill that I acquired and learned to say, you know, what's pertinent and relevant to me is not necessarily so for you. What is important, let's go one step a little bit more, bigger picture, abstract. In the abstract, it's giving you joy. If I love you, I want to see you have joy. It's not about what I like, it's what about you like. If I love you, I'm interested in what you like for you. Yeah, not what I like for me. Now, it's this part of yes. I know Norma. It's not about being vegan. It's about eating vegetables. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I know you are, Norma, and I respect and appreciate that. It's marvelous. It's quite marvelous. Quite marvelous. All right, we were going through these tasks and exercises here. And we said, what questions would you have for Biella in the same circumstance? Now, you weren't here yesterday, so I'm going to ask you this question. If you were right there with Camillus and Ursula, and Biella's explaining what's involved with becoming an aspirant, right? Okay, you get this minor allowance, you can stay anywhere, and I elaborated a bit on this, right? Just Nobelia-Living in terms of the sort of practical details of it. But if you were there and you in that situation as a delegate, whether you're now considering being an aspirant or not, as a delegate, this is actually not your focus to be considering to be an aspirant. That just happened to be for Ursula that she made this jump, but it's not part of the thing. But let's assume you're a delegate, you're there representing your world, seeing whether or not you want to join the agglomeration, of which the new nobility is a major part. But part of it is when you join the agglomeration, anybody on your planet who wants to be an aspirant can become one, right? Because now you're part of the agglomeration, right? You can't otherwise. And so this opens up the door. So if you're a responsible delegate, you were. That's right. That's right. That's right. I just was on this topic. I don't think you responded on this particular question because it was right at the end. So maybe it left already. Anyway, as a delegate, part of your responsibility is to say, well, if I'm opening up my world to joining, I have to ask questions about what it means to join the agglomeration. But that's settled in the negotiations already. You're here to find out about the new nobility and what they're all about. So part of it would be understanding what it means for aspirants, right? What's involved for them. So what questions would you have for Biella about everything that she's been saying? Yeah, in those circumstances. Any questions that you might have? I'm keen to hear. Sure asked, what about children? That was a very good question. It's a long answer that, you can listen to the replay to hear that. It's very interesting discussion on this. But that was her question, right? I think Bina had asked us before a similar question. Any questions, Ramsey, Norma? Any questions for Biella? And while you give thought to questions, I'll respond to the next question here. What might be the logic behind Biella's technique of mixing up her comments? The logic is that she is deliberately getting Camellius to activate different brains. And that, like I was saying earlier, he's got these diverse bubbles. So she's activating both simultaneously so that they can fuse and merge and hopefully see the bigger picture. Yeah. No questions, Norma? Wow. All right, that's good, I guess. That's good. And then, Benabulous is back. Well,
Yes.
is Mom happy? Is Mama happy?
Oh, yes, she's happy. She's happy.
Oh, good. Well, tell her happy 30th birthday. Yeah. Well, no, I mean, Venus like sweet 16. So, well, all right, 36th birthday then, I guess, if she had you when she was 20. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Mama is a very kind of like a very typical woman. She don't like to discuss her age, and
Yeah.
she says that, okay, what age has to do with this?
I
So
agree.
wherever I
I
look,
agree.
so she's wonderful in this regard.
Exactly. Forever young. When people ask me how old I am, I all my life, this thing of age was an issue for me when I was younger, because as Bina, as you know, you said I kind of started old as an old man, right?
Yes.
I was so I was never a child, not so, no, so therefore I was never a typical ordinary child, and unfortunately, because of the age that's obvious when you're a child, there's the assumption that you are thinking childish thoughts or childlike thoughts or child appropriate thoughts when I
Big
wasn't.
problem.
Yeah,
Big
I
problem.
wasn't at all. So not so. I was in the situation thus where I was unable to communicate because of the lack of receptivity. I could not say what was not expected of me to say. If I did, all that results is confusion, adversity, resentment, stress, bother, trouble, in other words. So age thus was a big deal. Age thus was a very big deal. And now, and from then on, I started this thing. People asked me how old you are. I said, how old do you want me to be? Or how old would you
I
like
could
me
be.
to be? So whatever age you'd like me to be. Sometimes people said, okay, be 60. And then I would say things that, old people might say, or older people might say, or 80 or 100 or whatever the age was be. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. I mean, you could just say something silly and say, well, people of all ages say something silly. Very easy to be any age. Right? I mean, what do you expect from older people? Do you expect profoundness and wisdom from them?
Oh no. Oh no.
I mean, there is a part of culture that says, well, as you get older, you get wiser. Wiser doesn't make you wise. Wiser is relative. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Mama. Thank you, Mama. Wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah, age is totally irrelevant. You know, I've known more like children who were very mature. All right, yes, beside myself, you know, I just came out of the box different. I don't know why. It's not like I'm praising myself or anything. It's just, this is just the reality. But I've known other children, yeah, that were ridiculously mature, way more so than he is. Interestingly enough, you see it with girls a lot, that they have that early maturity and then they lose it when they become teenagers. They lose that sobriety and sensibility they had when they were younger. It's just fascinating. And when they become adults, they're nowhere near as sensible as they were when they were 8 or 9 or 10 or whatever. Right? I've seen this many times. It's sad. It's really sad. Now you have the reverse too, of course. But this idea that, well, old people are more wise, maybe they have a greater opportunity to be wise, but that's not necessarily so. As a matter of fact, because of a lifetime of foolishness, they could even be worse, not better, in the sense, if you're now going to rank it in terms of sensibility. Not that I care to do that, but I'm just saying, you know, my experience with old people is not one that's greatly positive, I must say. I personally can't say I know any old person or older person who I regard as wise and sensible and sober, and to whom I would go to for learning and moreness and advice. I would love to. I'd love to know zillions of them, dozens, hundreds. I don't know any. Not for lack of looking. I got to tell you, not for lack of looking. So we have to be careful of how our expectations might influence our perception. Very important.
I don't
We
know. I
just,
never think
oh,
like that. But
well,
there is something I observe. The most miserable situation ever could be for a person, uh, for that, like older people, uh, they they get this pressure that they need to be wise and experienced
yes, there's that
and all
too.
that.
Yeah,
And when
yeah.
they try to be and they are not, the most miserable situation, that is stress. But
Yeah,
they have no clue.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Now it makes it even worse. And now it feeds on itself. The more you stressing and worrying about not knowing stuff that you're supposed to and should know, the more you're focusing on not knowing, and you're training your brain to believe and feel as if it doesn't know. We have to be inordinately, exquisitely careful with emphasis.
Yes.
I was discussing earlier, again, to repeat this topic,
Mhm.
I'm just going to summarize it. The
Yes, please.
peculiar, unnecessary emphasis of fear of losing something positive. When we have something profoundly positive in our lives, like a wonderful job or a house or a car or a relationship, but it's typically relationships and jobs that this occurs with, right? And you get this fantastic thing that you've always wanted all your life. But now you end up also at the same time, because you have a habit of this or past history, you fear losing it. The fear is a constant pressure that presses, and it wants that release. The only way it can get released is for you to not have it. So you end up sabotaging in order to release the fear. It's a sad business, right? And I went into more detail on it, on the complexity of this, but in a summary. So we have to be very, very, very exquisitely careful with emphasis. Emphasize having it, de-emphasize losing it. Emphasize having it. Losing it, it may or may not happen. All right, if it does, it does. Well, so what? But it might not. It's equal chance of it not going away as there is of it going away. You don't know. It's even, right? You don't know. It could be forever. You don't know. Don't aggravate your chances of losing it by putting attention to it, because the more attention you pay to things, the more likely you make them to happen. That's just life. Yes. So don't emphasize the negative, emphasize the positive. Absolutely critical. And it's a sad reality that I see people through this looking to relieve the fear. They cause problems in the thing that they have in order to say, oh, it's over, thank you. For heaven's sake, it's over now, finally. And they have that relief. And that relief from the stress is kind of a little mini high that, because of emphasis too, as your body seeks it again. It's a very peculiar thing. Yes, exactly, Norma. That's my point. trust the universe. You have it, it's right and good. Should it not be in your life anymore? If you trust the universe, truly trust the universe, you're going to say not having it is good also. You have to trust the universe. Whatever happens is there because of the universe. Trust the universe. Trust that the universe's intent is benign. And when we understand the universe's intent is to enhance and develop awareness, now it all makes sense. Why do you have this wonderful thing in your life? Because you need to enhance your, it's there to help you and assist you enhance your awareness of appreciation, your awareness of sobriety, your awareness of mood management, your awareness of energy management, your awareness of emphasis management. These are crucial, crucial, crucial life skills. By having this, the universe giving you opportunity to apply it, to apply the skills of emphasis and also de-emphasis, to take that negative and de-emphasize it. You're not ignorant that it might happen. That's denial. That's also dangerous. But de-emphasis. You still know it could, but it's not an issue. That's it. Yeah. I don't sit in fear that my house is going to implode or fall down or whatever. Yeah, it could happen, or meteor could hit the house. It could happen. But if I focus on it, then who knows? I might make it happen. Yeah, we have incredible power that we're not aware of. Yes, but it's a de-emphasized thing. I know it could happen, but it's de-emphasized. If it happens, it happens. Yeah. But I emphasize the joy. I go outside. Hello, world. I'm emphasizing the joy. I'm so happy that you are here today, Norma. I'm so happy that you are here today, Ramsey. Happy that you are here, Bina. Happy knowing all of you. Emphasis. Emphasize the positive. I'm not saying, oh, I'm sad because Lisa's not here or Cher's not here or whoever. Yeah? No. No. Emphasize what's here. Emphasize what's positive. Change the habit. Change the habit. Our paradigm, the superiority paradigm, says emphasize the negative. Yeah, terrible paradigm. Terrible paradigm. Trusting the universe is crucial. Yes, being creative. Well, I don't know if it's called
I just want to
creativity,
add something
but it's
here.
part of it. Yes, please, Bina, please.
Yes, because for me, it was a very big, huge perspective when first time I read in Way of Impeccability. And he says, and Syl was elaborating, and he says that what we say about ourselves and about anything and anyone, uh, our mind, our conscious, our subconscious mind, don't want us to be a liar.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
then we make things real for
Exactly.
our own sake, because like I don't want to be a liar. If I will keep
Yes.
saying that, "Okay, I have a headache, I have a headache, I have a headache,"
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
of course my
Yeah.
body will act accordingly and make it a reality for me.
Yes.
I will have a
Yes.
headache because my conscience is not willing to make me feel like a liar.
Exactly.
Nobody wants to be a liar. And that was like, wow. That for me,
Yes.
it was like the whole
Yeah.
completely resolved the mystery.
Revelationary. Yes.
Yes, it was like it resolved the whole law of attraction and law of focus or attention and assumption,
Exactly.
whatever we will call it.
Yeah.
And then that actually start making sense to me.
Yes.
Because when we lie, or even if you are lying to yourself, please lie as something positive to yourself. So then of
Yeah.
course all your being will start working accordingly, and
Yeah.
then you will make it happen. And what Syl is
Yeah.
saying about the stress, when we are in stress about anything in any relationship, mostly it happens with relationships, that the fear of losing something. First, uh, comparison. We compare things. Okay, oh, I'm this because of this and that. Okay, he is that or she is that, or that type of comparison. And because we are honest people, so then we say that, okay, there is no match. Okay. But my question is, I never ever wish for anyone in my life exactly like me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there, for me, the comparison is completely unnecessary. Of course, he is going to be different. He can be better, he can be worse. I hope
Or
not.
she.
But so what? Yes, okay. For me, these are very obvious choices. So this is this is something, it is very clear in my mind, because I don't want someone equal to me or exactly like me. No, I don't
Exactly.
want that. Then life will be very boring,
Exactly. I
very
want more.
boring, very plain for me. I'm a boring person. I don't want to be with me.
Yeah. Well, you're not
If
boring
I
to
want
me
company, then of course I will.
or to Norma or Ramsey.
I'm just saying that. I know that.
I hear you. I
I'm
hear
just
you.
using this analogy that
Yeah.
I'm very clear about this, because I don't want someone like me. Then there is no comparison. If he
Right.
is going to be different, then why I will compare myself with? So okay,
Exactly. There is no comparison. Exactly.
by making my intent clear that I don't want anyone exactly like me, I know that I am inviting differences.
Mm.
Okay, but these are deliberate
Mm.
choices, so that the differences will be hopefully most likely positive. And once I have this understanding that, okay, yes, I want to be with someone who is far ahead than me,
Yeah.
and then of course they have to make some compromises that I'm not there. But this is how it's a mean choice, but this is okay for me, it's appropriate. My
Yeah.
life will be more exciting. So if we get rid of our ego that, oh, I need to be equal, then we can get more out of any relationship.
Yeah.
No problem. He or she is ahead of me. So what? I'm getting value. Okay, first thing.
Yeah.
Second thing is trust that person and their choices. If they are choosing you, why don't you trust it?
Exactly.
Okay, I might be not sensible enough, but they are. That's why I choose them, and I
Yeah.
am their choice. So why not trust it? Trust their sensibility. They are choosing you for some
Exactly.
good reason,
Exactly.
even if you cannot trust yourself. For me,
And
this
you
is the
can't
thing.
see it yourself. Yeah. 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 You know, we need a mirror to see ourselves in real life physically. Yes. Now, where's the psychological mirror?
Yes,
So know that you're
yes,
blind when it comes to yourself. Know this. Know this.
yes, yes. So for me, the comparison exists when we try to be equal. And
Yes.
for me,
Yeah.
looking for someone, being with someone who is equal, will not get you anywhere other than where you are right
Exactly.
now. So it's a stuck
Exactly.
situation.
Exactly.
It's a stuck situation.
Exactly. And also, it just denies the reality that you are not equal. End of story. You're not equal. We aren't. No one's equal. Let me make this
Exactly.
into a different analogy.
Yes.
It comes up pretty soon in the origin story, right?
Okay.
But this idea of heaven, but it's the old heaven in the time
Okay.
before religion. All right. So now
Okay.
we're imagining a heaven that's got nothing to do with religion, right?
Okay.
And in this heaven, there may or may not even be a God involved, right? But it's just heaven. We're not in this heaven. God is not an issue, regardless of whether a God is there, whether she's involved or not. We don't know, but we're
Okay.
just
So
taking it without.
we are conveniently
Yes,
disregarding
yes,
religion and
correct,
gods, but
correct. But
taking
this
their
is the old
ideas.
heaven, right? This is
Yeah,
my
but
idea
taking
of
their
heaven.
ideas of heaven. Yes.
Right, but this is my heaven that I'm writing in the story. It's the new nobility's heaven, and they call it the heaven from the time before
Okay.
thoughts of religion in us. So this is their concept that this is something very ancient that was around, and then religion came and put all sorts of stuff onto it. But anyway, it's for purposes. Whether or not it exists for the new nobility is totally irrelevant. They get value out of the concept. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because we were talking about comparison, equality. Now, tell me how much sense does it make to say, oh, angel over there, that angel, let me compare it to angel over here.
Hmm.
Really? An idiotic
Mhm.
idiotic idea. I mean, it's just ridiculous, is it not? To start
Yeah.
evaluating and comparing angels. They are all angels.
Hmm.
That's the in heaven angels. That's the reality. That's the fact. To start comparing angels is just idiotic. It's like the trees behind me here. Wait, let's see all the flowers. Wait, let's compare the flowers. Ah, really? Come on now. Oh, that flower's not equal to that. Oh, geez. You're all flowers, for heaven's sake. We're all flowers. We're all trees. You know, comparison is idiotic. Yeah. Now, when it comes to trees and flowers, you might say, well, when it comes to angels, maybe it wasn't quite as immediately a duh, but really they're all angels. Therefore, it's a duh. Now, remember this point about the angels. It's going to come back later. I don't want to give away chapter 10. It's going to come back. It's going to come back. Exactly, Norma. Norma says, will you read it, please, what Norma says?
Okay. I need to go there because I'm not there.
Oh, okay. Norma first says, you have to respect the difference, though none is better than anyone else. Exactly. It's not just respect the difference, Norma. At least from the new nobility point of view, and from my personal point of view, if you look up hashtag celebrate difference, you're going to come to posts from me. I've got dozens of them. Celebrate difference, not just respect difference, not just acknowledge difference, not just appreciate difference. No. Celebrate it. Go beyond respect. Go beyond acknowledgement and acceptance. Celebrate difference. Yes. So are all the angels in this old heaven the same? What do you think, Bina?
Hmm. I was okay. My thoughts are
I
okay.
mean,
A
what's
bit
the
more.
answer?
Yes, but I was thinking something else. So I will share
Right.
it
I mean,
later.
the is that they're not the same. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Right. It's like they're not the same. Otherwise, there's no point in having more than one. If you just have one angel and that's it. Right. You don't have. If you have more than one, then differences obviously becomes some value. Right. So that's it. Or at least you would imagine so. Maybe not. All right. There's like flowers, difference value, moreness, but still, just maybe more can do what one can't do. All right. So there's another reason beside difference to have more. But still, there's this idea that at least the understanding in this concept of angels is that they are different, but yet they are also equal and also not equal. But equal and not equal, they don't apply. It's like applying it to flowers. It's just silly to say it. They just simply are. Each one is an angel, and therefore each one is awesome and fantastic. Yes? There you go. End of story. What else do we need to know? And then Norma also says, if you don't understand something, is it okay to take the mickey out of others? I don't quite understand this comment. Why would anybody want to take the mickey out of anybody? I don't get this logic. I mean, I do. I understand it from a superiority paradigm point of view. But how is it connect to understanding or not understanding? And you know what I mean? I'm sort of puzzled, Norma, as to why there's this automatic association. Right? So who's taking the mickey out of who, first of all? So in other words, are you saying that the person who's not understanding, because they don't understand, they take the mickey out of somebody else? Well, yeah, that can happen, but I don't think it's okay. I don't think it's okay to take the mickey out of anybody. I mean, if you're teasing, that's because take the mickey it has a range of meanings, right? It can be in a negative, very nasty sense, where you're being negative, but generally to take the mickey is just having fun and teasing, which is a different meaning. But I think you mean it in the context of being negative towards them. No, it's never okay, Norma, regardless of the context. It's never okay. Yeah. And if you don't understand, I know a lot of people do that. When they don't understand, they make fun of somebody else because they don't want to expose their ignorance. That's superiority paradigm stuff. But we have to be careful to not assume that people do this, because we are in assuming that that's typical behavior. Yes. So sometimes people are just genuinely trying to understand. They're not taking the mickey out of you. They really want to know. Right. So be very careful of how we assign motivations, especially when we assign motivations according to the superiority paradigm, the typical, the usual. Yes, usually that's going to be work out okay to assign those motivations, but not always. So sometimes you get the same behavior, but from a different motivation. So what is the one person trying to take the mickey out of you is somebody else genuinely trying to understand or ask or query or explore or investigate or gain more awareness of, etc. Right? So we have to be very, 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 very exquisitely cautious and careful and deliberate, exquisitely deliberate about assigning motivation and assumption and expectation of motivation. This topic is what is the glue of the new nobility society. Why they all live happily and joyfully and celebratorily, and there's no negativity. And because they insist as a starting point of receptivity, as Bina said earlier in the introduction, that they are maximally receptive. So therefore, when they get a present, they assume the motivation behind the present is positive, good, moreness, etc. It's taken for granted. They don't even assume it. They use it as a default starting point. It's just taken for granted that the gift is positively motivated. That's why they open it. If they didn't assume that, they wouldn't open the present. They'd be cautious. They'd put it in the metal detector or whatever. Get the dogs to come and sniff it, all that. Right? No, there is this taking for granted that the present is sent as positive. Whatever people send to us, when we treat it as a present, even though it's not, we get a very, very different response. Yes, when we treat even things that weren't meant to be a present, like you treat it as a present, and you start reverse engineering to see how you can get value out of it, you'll be surprised. You can get value even out of negativity sometimes. Yes, but this is a very important point, though. But when it comes to each other, like for instance, one new noble might say something, the other one is like, "Dang, dude, that." Well, they might not say "dang, dude." I don't think they'll say "dang, dude." But anyway, they're like, "Wow, that really seems offensive, but I know you couldn't possibly intend it and mean it to be offensive. And furthermore, I shouldn't be offended by stuff anyway. I should have more."
In the meantime, okay, yes, he's back.
Where did I drop off, Bina? Where did I drop off?
Just a second. So it's not very long. So
Ah,
just start saying.
Just to recap. So a new one new
They're
noble may
not going
start.
to. They're not going to take it as offensive.
Correct. Never will they take it offensive, even, well, for two reasons. One, because if I'm offended by stuff, I've got ego. And two, the other thing is that it couldn't be meant that way. They might be saying it on behalf of, let's say, somebody like a visitor or something, the tourist may see that as offensive. And then expect, no, I didn't mean it that way. I came out this way or whatever. And they will explain, oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. I see. Oh, good reason for it. I understand now. You actually have a good reason for it to specifically and deliberately sound offensive. Oh, wow. Okay, that's very sophisticated. Oh, wow. All right. Whatever. Right. But that happens often. So we don't always perceive the sophisticated rationale when somebody's doing something, especially when they're doing something that's in the big picture and we're thinking small picture. We're thinking immediate. We can't see the big picture. But when they explain it, oh, yeah, no, I didn't think of it in the long term. I didn't think of it in the terms of, lifetime or death or whatever. Okay, I understand. All right. So this is just an awareness issue. But when we accept the intent as positive, it changes how we hear. Let me repeat that. When we accept the intent as positive, it changes how we hear and perceive. Our reality changes. When we assume that the intent is superiority and putting down and all of this stuff, that's all we hear. And innocent comments could be then misinterpreted. I've had this happen to me plenty, because I don't have that superiority. I'm just unhooked from it long time ago, putting people down. I didn't even like it as a boy. When I did practice it and I was skilled at it, I couldn't stand it. It was horrible, right? I mean, I did it because I didn't have any other options. That's why I looked for options, one of the reasons. Yeah? It's a terrible system. But now, and subsequent to, that, I mean, I succeeded. At 16, I stopped doing that, right? Completely and utterly. It just gave it up entirely, changed, profoundly changed. But still, though, I say something that's positive because people are expecting it to some sort of superiority, and they take it. Oh, what's he after? What's he mean? What's his game here? What's he trying to pull on me? What's his fast one here? How is he like Norma says there? Is he taking the mickey out of me? What? No, I'm being sincere and being genuine. I'm telling you, I think you're a nice person. I'm not looking to get anything out of it. I'm just sharing appreciation. But it's so foreign to their mind that they think I'm in it for something. I'm manipulating them in some way, blah, blah, blah. I've had this all my life. It's a sad reality, but hey, I just persist. And, sometimes I got to explain. Too bad, at least after a while, people get it, and they see. And occasionally, like my drivers, the one who comes, a couple of them that come regularly. I'm just sharing. I'm just being positive. They love it because they see it. They don't think I'm out for to get anything or not. They just see it for what it is, which is just appreciation of people. And a couple of them are really nice people. They're genuinely really nice, modest people, and they do the same thing, right? And me doing what they doing is an appreciation and recognition, and they're really thrilled that somebody does see that they are being kind and nice and generous, even when they don't need to. They're doing more. They're being noble, in other words. It's a very big deal. And Angel knocked it. How do you mean? I want to hear more. I want to hear more. Knocked on the door? No, I'm not following. I'm not following. It's too cryptic for me. It's too cryptic for me, Norma. All right. While Norma explains, I want to just take this last point on the tasks and exercises here. What's she, Biella, yeah? What's Biella up to with Camellias and why, or what might be behind it all? I think I may have explained this before, that Biella is being preemptive and she is anticipating something that she sees a very powerful path. She's not even assuming at this point. It's somewhat of an inevitability because Camillus is already on the path. So she's not assuming that he's on the path, he's already on it. She's just acknowledging that he's on the path, right? And when you're on a path, you're going somewhere. Now, and when you're on a path with momentum, it's difficult to stop. So she has lots of reasons to see and behave and act. She's not making assumptions thus, right? It's in a different category here. You're not assuming, you're just paying attention and extrapolating rather than assuming. It's very... oh, that's all right, Norma. That's all right. I meant about the angel comment. Where did the angel comment go? Oh. And in this, she's having a gesture with Camillus. She's making an effort for him to have options to get off the path. She's opening side paths, different roads, forks in the road that he can choose, things like that, right? A greater awareness. She's trying with all she has to make things easier and provide Camillus with options. That's what she's doing, providing him with options, right? Very powerful. It's a very kind gesture, very loving gesture that she's doing. She's making effort where she doesn't need to. Again, that's nobleness. Yes, nobleness in action. Making effort when we don't need to. There's absolutely no necessity for her to make this extra effort with Camillus. Yes, he's a friend, but even as a friend, it's his own world. It's his own stew that he's in. It's... as a friend, it is a little bit your business, but at some point you've also got to leave your friends alone to deal with their stuff. But you can make an effort without being intrusive by providing options. And that's what she's doing. She's providing options without being intrusive. Yes. It's a very, very, very delicate, a very delicate point to do.
Yes, very delicate point.
Delicate.
To a delegate.
Delicate.
Yes.
Delicate. Yes. Yeah, very delicate application, very skillful application. Now she's trying this because, like I said earlier, the reason that she puts these comments in between others, that she's not making a long specific focus. Oh, Camillus, by the way, here's this, and this might be interesting to think about. No, she's not doing it the way she normally would do. She throws them in out of context. She's talking about something, and these are just kind of comments thrown in the middle there that don't belong there. And the fact that they don't belong emphasizes them. Because if you were to share them as a specific point, let's say she opens up the topic of discussion with Ursula, or with any of the other delegates, or with all of them, right? And this is now a focused thing. And Cornelius is going to react from his regular understanding brain, which is already shown can appreciate and understand something, but yet not act on it. But because it's out of context, his brain is going to want to understand the out of contextness, because he's so focused on understanding. And this is a disruption. And in that disruption, hopefully, he's going to see from one bubble brain into the other and see the disconnect between understanding and action. It's a hope. We cannot force awareness. Biella is aware of this. All we can do at the best is to share opportunities, chances, hints, clues, prompts that might lead somebody to choose. But the choice is always with them. Awareness is a personal thing. Awareness is choice. Yeah. So what we can do is increase the choices, increase the opportunities. If they choose, they choose. If they don't, they don't. Nothing we can do about it. Yeah. It's very powerful. All right, Bina, if you would read, please.
Okay.
I mean, unless
It's lagging.
it's not conducive, I'll read either way. I love when you read now.
No, I can read, but it's just lagging, so that's why it is taking time.
Oh, I see. Oh, I see. All right.
Our entire world is deliberately set up, but it's all hidden
Deliberately?
or incorporated. Set up.
Deliberately?
Oh, elaborately. Oh, whoopsie.
It is also deliberately set up, which is you
Yes,
read
it
the
is.
intent.
And I was paying attention to like, okay, elaborate. Deliberately
Yes.
set up. Okay,
Yes. Yeah.
And that's why my mind was so, okay, see
Yeah.
the focus?
Wonderful.
Okay. I was
Wonderful.
our entire world is elaborately set, but it's all hidden or incorporated into the design and flow, so as to be unnoticeable.
Yes.
Our entire world is elaborately set. It's all hidden or incorporated into the design and flow, so as to be unnoticeable. In between the campuses are marvelous wild areas of woodland, forests, or meadows. It looks wild, but all sculpted.
So even the
There is
wild areas like this behind, they deliberately created a wild area, but they've taken some of the ugly wild out of it, right? So it's beautiful wild, sculpted.
yes.
Yeah. Because if you go out into the
One would not-
wilds, right? Sorry, if you go out into the wilds, some places you come to like this, they're just automatically kind of wonderful and balanced and beautiful. And then you go to others and it's like, oh man, you know, there's a mess here and right. And not all wild is beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, they do leave some of those areas, right? Just for contrast, but they, for the most part, they made sure that the wild is, you know, where you can actually walk through it and enjoy it, and it's conducive and fluid and flowing, etc. Right? But there's great variety, of course, also.
Yes.
Yeah.
One would not know it from the areas themselves. There's endless variety. But if you were to look at a climate map, the improbability of the distribution would be apparent. I have to
Yeah.
back up a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So
Go
on that
into the
point, looking at the
Yes.
climate map, you're going to see,
Yes.
well, hang on, but this area is low rainfall. What's going on here? You've got a nice lush forest meadowland. Well, because they've got underground irrigation.
Mm.
So you have things that aren't meant to be there, right? Yes, there are deserts on Nobelia, and there's a story about, it's called the consolidation, the story, a very powerful story, where Bina
We do
and
have
Illumina go in there. So
But we do have this underground irrigation system in Pakistan. It's a very ancient system here,
Yeah.
which is called Kares.
Yeah. There's no reason not to have it. None
Yes,
whatsoever.
it's a
If you've
very
got
ancient system of
right,
irrigation. It is called Kares. It's
right,
all underground.
right. So two things that are critical.
Yes.
In people will say, oh, the invention of the wheel is what changes civilization. No, 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 no. Wheel didn't make much difference really. The invention of the blade or the discovery of the blade, this is the key point to civilization. Without an edge, a blade, you can forget about doing anything, right? I mean, you need a blade to make the wheel. Yes. All right. Secondly, the other great transformative thing for civilization is ceramics, pottery. Yeah. Because with pottery, you can store liquids. Basket weaving is fine. You've got a pouch, you can carry things. Leather making, yes, you make things, but yes, you can make water containing things with leather, but they're not as ideal as ceramics. Yes, because if you store water in leather, you get mold and all sorts of stuff. But ceramics, you can put something in there, you seal it, and that's it. You can keep it forever, right? Oil, whatever. Not only that, but ceramics is cheap and plentiful, easy to make. It's mud. It's you cooking mud. That's it, really.
Yes.
So very easy to make ceramics. With ceramics, and you get vases, but if you take ceramics to piping, you get civilization. Yes. Ceramics is
Yes.
huge, because think about it, right? Look at this underground irrigation. How transformative is this? And all it requires is ceramic piping. Yes, not a problem. Yes, there are problems with it that can break, ground shifts and all that, but nonetheless, it's still, when you have underground irrigation like that, you can now farm and be productive in areas where you couldn't otherwise, right? You're redistributing resources. When you can do that, you enhance your wealth and prosperity tremendously, civilization, right? And of course, later on, you get, water, right? Piping, you can get water to places where you don't have hose, you don't have rubber, you don't have abundant metal to make brass, right? Because that's a hard thing to do. And you might not even be aware that you can mine it. But through ceramics, you can make a pipe and you can have, water distributed all over the show. And when you get that, now you get sewerage coming as the next step, and so on and so forth, right? I mean, many cities didn't have sewerage. People just throw this stuff out the window. The sewerage was the streets, and whenever it rained, yeah, I'm serious. I'm absolutely serious. I know it's incredible. It is incredible. It is absolutely incredible. But yet, I mean, this is very well documented. It's not just something that was a rare instance, because these were in climates where it did rain fairly frequently, right? So, I mean, you had rain on average probably once a week. All right. So you add a crude sewage system, but of course, when it didn't rain for a while, you may go 2-3 weeks or have a hot month and it's not rain, and then it's like, man,
Right.
diseases and epidemics and stuff break out. Yeah, it's just terrible. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just saying it's something to be aware of. That's piping is civilization, and piping starts with ceramics. Now, of course, there are better things like brass, for instance. Yes, or copper, that are better for piping, or copper, not brass, but yeah, brass for the fittings, copper for the piping, or plastic, of course, because they're more flexible. Ceramics is brittle, and if there's stress, and they can easily break, and you have to fix it. But nonetheless, changes everything. All right, just key points here. Yeah. It's just fun, right, to say that, a little bit of extra moreness to understand that underground irrigation is, again, as you say, it's not a new idea, surprisingly. Yet, even in today's world, it's not that common. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's,
I mean,
it's
in
labor
Pakistan,
intensive.
it's okay. It is continuously there is a pressure for every government to actually revive this system again, because we had
Yeah.
that for centuries. We had
Yeah.
this which is called kares in Balochi language, and in Balochistan, because it's a hot, dry area. So they developed this centuries ago, this underground irrigation system, which is very amazing. and because
Yeah.
it's a very less loss of water because
Yeah.
of this hot climate, and it's
Yes, you
covered.
don't have the evaporation. It's huge. It's different. And you
Yes,
don't
and it is
you don't have
protected
to
and
use
also
ceramic piping. You can simply build
exactly.
an underground cave,
This is
which
how it is.
yeah,
This is how it
exactly.
is.
Exactly. I mean, and you can line it with ceramics. And yes, if it does crack and break, fine, you get a little bit of leakage, but so what? You still have that. And all you need to do is build it so that, you know, using a dome arch support, you can use all sorts of stones, many different ways to do it. It's very labor intensive to do so. But boy, is it ever worth the effort. It's like the Roman roads that are still in existence and being worked today. The engineering that goes into a Roman road is incredible and profound. But because you had slave labor and you can build it
Yes.
essentially cheaply, they made that extra effort to build it properly, and the roads are still around 2,000 years later. Yeah, and same with the aqueducts and these underground things. If you do it properly in the first place, it lasts. In other words, governments pay attention. When you are designing public works and implementing them, do so impeccably. If you are impeccable with your engineering, you are going to have things that last for ages, literally last for ages, like the Roman roads and like the Keres system in Pakistan. Yeah, the magic of impeccability applied on a governmental level. How cool is that, Bina? How cool is that? Yeah.
Yes.
All right, they didn't do it
Yes.
necessarily because of impeccability. To some extent, yes, impeccability was involved, but also they were able to be impeccable because they had cheap labor.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. In our modern age, we do have cheap labor via machinery and automation. We just need to get there. We have the technology to do so. It's just not the will and the intent. It'll get there though. It's coming. It's coming. It comes into the story at some point. Yeah, maybe later, but we'll see. All right, please keep going. Sorry. It's just fun digression, fun stuff.
Yes. No. Completely okay. Of course. For
Yeah.
me, it is actually valuable that way.
Yeah.
Bringing up so
Yeah.
much more. So,
Yeah.
so digression. It is actually covering everything, whatever
It's
is
why we're here.
relevant.
It's why we're here. It's not a digression. It's an addition. It's an
Yes.
enhancement. It's not a digression. Yeah.
I have to back up a bit here to go into the history. We have more than a few hours anyway. Won't the others be waiting for us? Ursula asked. Yes, they know how these things go. If we were to arrive now, we'd spend the next few hours being asked to. Or just a little bit longer. Wait,
Yeah.
just a bit longer.
Right.
It
Look at the
needs techno-
sophistication here, right? I really mean to
Yes.
emphasize this point because it is a huge deal. It's part of the new nobility psychology in which they pay attention to efficiency and effectiveness. And they pay attention to how things actually are as opposed to how things could be, should be, might be. Yes? And thus, in a situation,
Yes.
Bina, I didn't say so there. I was about to, but I said thus instead. So good for me, right? Bina and I are practicing to not say so, and also to not say if we can help it. In this instance here, again, I skipped one. In this instance here, the new nobility are paying attention to the inevitability. And yes, even though Biella said, I'm going to do the reading, she knows from past experience that not everybody can get there right away, right? And the telling, not the reading, the telling of the origin story. So they know this. And even though she said, well, you know, she's going to be doing it in soon, the soon is never as soon as you'd like it to be. So she just says, well, we do. Everybody tries to be there soon. And they know that those are going to come late. They're going to come late. And there is a time to it. It has its own momentum and flow. But because she knows this already, she doesn't go and say, well, I should be there. She's paying attention to the obvious inevitability and taking it into cognizance, right? And part of the magic of this for those who come earlier is like Nora and Aki, right? All right, they're going to go around spreading the word, but they're going to be there early, but they're going to be enjoying the excitement of it and chatting to everybody. And right, it's a whole communal gathering. And part of the joy is the excitement of waiting for it. Yes, like waiting for your birthday or Christmas or whatever. Yes, you want it to come, but you also don't want it to come because you enjoy waiting for it, because you enjoy that excitement. It's part of it. Well, very sophisticated, yes? Makes sense, Bean? But it's acknowledgement of inevitability. That's my point. Even though, every time you say, well, okay, yes, sir, and then you never quite get there. They've already acknowledged the inevitability and they make allowance for it and build it into their system. They don't keep repeating the same mistakes, in other words. Yeah? And wasting time and energy. They're very real. It's a realism perspective. What's happening here of Biella saying, yes, I know they're going to be waiting for us, but we're also going to be waiting for everybody to come. Right? I'm not being rude. I'm being appreciative of the situation, and everybody knows this. Everybody understands it. So they don't expect me to sit there waiting. Yes, for them to wait for me is okay, but not me for them. Right? It's a peculiar arrangement, even though it's just one person and many. But it's very interesting in this. It's just acknowledgement of inevitability and best use of energy and time and everything. Because, Biella's going to be doing the reading, so she's the core and the focus. And therefore, to wait for her is part of the excitement, right? Part of the fun.
Won't the others be waiting for us? She asked. Yes, they know how these things are. These things go. If we were to arrive now, we'd spend the next few hours being asked to wait just a little bit longer. It takes a while for everyone to manage to get there. These are big deals. Overlap events, how community is maintained, continuity is maintained. We are, after all, an oral tradition. What is oral tradition?
Oral, verbal,
Oral.
sound.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
No.
Okay. They'll wait for us and be happy when we are late. Wow. Understanding can come at a cost. Biella continued, slipping in another tug at Camillus.
It's a big tug. Understanding can come at a cost. Something poor Camillus does not understand yet. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Over the course of the history of the new nobility, there have been.
Oh, before you start this, sorry, Bina. I want to just make
yes.
a little behind the scenes story, a comment here. In this, that the dialogue between Camillus and Biella is essentially a dialogue between myself and my friend. Now, it's put into a whole different context here, of course. It's enfolded into the story. And therefore, Camillus takes on a whole different personality. However, not all of Biella's comments are my comments. Those tugs at Camillus, I did not include those in my conversation with my friend at the time. So therefore, therefore, my friend continued on this path and the inevitability of its denouement, its unraveling, yes, and the crash. Whereas with Biella, yes, she does this. The likelihood, if I had done that with my friend, there may have been a different result. But then we wouldn't see this path that Camillus goes down, and we wouldn't get the advantage of it from a learning awareness point of view and a contrast point of view. It's massively valuable to see this path that Camillus goes on. But I mean to say is that you could say, well, later on you say those comments didn't make any difference to Camillus. Yes, in the story they don't. But in reality, they likely would have made a difference, but there is a chance that they may not have made any difference whatsoever. And if I had said them to my friend, right? Or he may have said, what do you mean with this? And I have to respond, right? So it's a slightly deliberately engineered circumstance here, but it's valuable for the story. But we are taking it that those comments didn't have effect, which can be in real life. right? I mean, it could have been with my friend that he just ignored them. It's quite possible, yeah, or maybe not. We don't know, but the likelihood that he didn't is fairly high, I would say. So in reality, what Biella is doing will likely have a very profound effect. It didn't on Camillus, because at the time I was aware where it was going, but I gave my friend the greater benefit of the doubt. I like didn't want to believe it was going where it was going, and sadly it did. So, and just sometimes, your heart gets the better of you, but it's good. It's good. I trust, and he's still my friend, of course. So it's all good. It all worked out good in the end. Even at the cost for him. Yeah, yeah. And it put a break in the friendship for a time, right? Because he had to reevaluate, and that's what happens with worldview collapse, right? It makes for a change in things, and that's why you want to soften it and gentle it so that you don't end up breaking with everything, which is what he did. Yeah. All right. Camillus doesn't. Camillus keeps going though. Just by the way. All right. Fun stuff. Fun stuff. Please keep going, Bina.
Okay, they have been recipients of much generosity, initially all of it invested. The new nobility are paragons of frugality, how to pronounce it?
Frugality.
Frugality.
Yeah. Oh, on this
Yeah,
point of the
frugality.
donations, Bina,
Yes.
it's also something that
Yes.
needs a bit of backstory. When the new Nobility Corporation started, yes, they're a corporation, they're a business, but many liked what they were doing because, like the Cedars project, yes, they did it as a promotional affair. However, many saw and understood the charity involved. Yes, the goodness, the niceness. And there are many projects because they're a benefit corporation, right? They don't do everything just for money. They do things to benefit society. And many saw this aspect of the new Nobility Corporation, yeah, and sent them donations. That's it. Never mind buying their products, maybe what they have I can't use, it's not in my field, whatever. They just started sending them donations. And then they use those donations very appropriately, very effectively. And part of the new Nobility Corporation, by its very mandate, is, to do things for benefit. But because of the donations, they became sort of more officially, more actively, more precisely focused on charity. And the more they got focused on charity, the more donations they got, because, of course, because of their impeccability and sobriety, and they were very effective with their charity usage. And so it just snowballed. And that's why they became so super wealthy. And they had this huge wealth that they reinvested, yes, but they got more than they could use at some point, combined with their wealth. That's why they became the wealthiest corporation ever by far. Combination of things. Yeah. And the more they invested in the charity, the more good opinion they got of the public, and the more they bought their products, whatever products they had, right? It fed on itself. Wonderful business model. Goodness benefiting goodness. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. No. Actually, out in the agglomeration, by the way, just if you take this, when you have such a dominant corporation, what are you going to do? You're either going to, if you're sensible in business, you say, well, I can't compete with them. So what I'll do is align with them. And therefore, most businesses essentially become subcontractors to the new Nobility. Yeah?
Yes.
They work in harmony with them. It's a fantastic system. Marvelous. All right. Please keep going, Magical Mina.
The investments, combined with an ever-increasing stream of donations and their extremely prosperous business activities, led to the new nobility becoming one of the wealthiest groups in the egg, creating a dilemma. They never sought wealth to that extent. A full meeting was called, And over the course of a few years, the end result was Nobelia. They bought the planet and set about creating and designing the school and everything else. Now the new Nobility is the largest charity institution in the agglomeration by far,
Yeah,
among other
yeah.
things.
A quick point on that, they bought the planet. Now you say, who would have owned the planet that they bought it from? Yes. Now, I suppose there could be somebody who
Yes.
settled it, but again, because of the great gravity engines, and because we already know Nobelia is fairly remote in the agglomeration, the chances of somebody actually owning it literally is fairly remote. Therefore, who did they buy it from? Yes, they bought it from the citizens of the galaxy.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
Yes, wow.
I just want to know because why I'm saying this. When when this
Yes,
idea
you
of
see
new
the
nobility,
implications. Your yes, wow, is you seeing the implications. Go ahead, go ahead, go
but
ahead.
also there is something else I wanted to share. It's
Yeah.
a side story, you can say, but it is directly connected to that. When I was actually designing my own parallel electoral system here in for Pakistan, like that was the idea
Mm,
in teenage. Okay. Yes. When I was doing that, I was very much concerned about how these all the spaceships were going out, and of course they are doing the other thing that okay, yes, now we are doing this, and there was a news about that's the idea. It was an idea, and there was a news about that idea that they were thinking to actually dump uh, all the trash from this planet Earth and then dump it onto some other planet
yeah,
to make this planet Earth clean for us.
yeah.
And they were like, okay, yes, so now Russia is going there, China is going there, and India is going there, America is going there. A lot of news about that.
Yeah,
And they were
yeah.
like, okay, now they are doing this to this, and they are doing experiments for the ozone. And that all was concern for me at that time.
Mm,
And I was seriously looking for a way to file a petition for that, like to make a case, file a case against that to
good.
actually give them right to do these type of things and make those
Exactly,
decisions and actually implement that. Because I'm
exactly,
also part of this world, and this is my sky, these are my galaxies too, which you are making decisions about.
exactly,
And
exactly.
of course my family was like, okay, Beena, you from where you got all these ideas? And I was like, okay,
Be
who
another alien.
decides all those things?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
who decides all those things for me?
Exactly,
You okay,
exactly,
you started doing all these things, that then you discover
exactly.
that okay, now the ozone is broken and all shattered and all that, and now you are
Right.
going quicker further, and then you say, okay, oh, it is habitable and it is not, and you are actually massive. At that time it was idea also that okay, you were going to dump planet Earth's trash on some other planet,
Yeah,
like making
yeah.
a dustbin in the space. This is they were trying to implement this idea. And that was really horrible idea for me. And I was like, instead of just doing that, you are messing up with my space also, not only with this planet. And every human, every species actually has a right to protest this. That how can you make decisions by your own? Like, okay, any wealthy person, like now, whoever is, what is his name? The Twitter guy, Elon.
Oh, Elon Knucklehead, yeah.
Yes. How he can, because he have resources now, so he is going to just go in space and do whatever nonsense he wants to do
Correct, correct.
just because
But
of that.
he's
So
just
it
assuming that
was a
something belongs to him when it doesn't. It belongs to all of us.
that
Yeah,
was my concern.
yeah,
Of course, it
exactly.
was a very foolish idea according to people at that time. Like, okay, oh, she's just getting out of like that. And
Yeah.
I was seriously concerned about, and I was trying to search that how to actually file a case against them. But how can you
Wow.
do this to me? You didn't
Exactly.
ask me. I was so serious about this. So, okay, but now all these things seems foolish now, but it is still, these are my concern. And that's how I was like, okay, I was looking for that, okay, how to live in the area of concern and how to live in the area of influence. But still I feel concerned. And when you were saying that, okay, yes,
Yeah.
they were earning money, and then, okay, what they decided and then what they did, that was like, okay, oh, now it makes sense.
Yeah.
Now it all makes sense.
Right.
From the
Because
domain
their
you're going
logic
to be.
is those planets belong to the entire galaxy, right? To the citizens of the galaxy. Well,
Exactly.
technically the universe, but we can only know about the galaxy. That's as far as we can go, right? As the universe is a big place. And because in the galaxy, it's still sort of more or less within reach of the great gravity engines. Yes, you can jump to other galaxies like they did, but that's a big involved thing, etc. So they say, look, we are wanting to use this for our own benefit. It's a new planet that belongs to everybody as far as we're concerned. Now, you could say, well, from an explorer point of view, the first one to get there can claim it for themselves. But, this is a thin ethical line. We have control over the transport, the great gravity engines. Does this make us now, we can go to every planet and that's open and put on the flag and claim it? No. Our position belongs to everybody. Therefore, we're also saying we want to use this for our own exclusive use. From our logic, therefore, we have to buy it from the citizens of the galaxy. And they did.
Yes.
And they held a referendum. They got the, right? At that
Yeah.
point, the egg was still fairly small, so they could do this, yes. And they didn't know about planets that weren't in the egg, so they just was whoever was in the egg, or at least the pre-egg. That this would even have probably been in the time before the agglomeration, right before that conference. Whatever the grouping of planets were, however many, right? They held a referendum. And they said, is this okay? We are going to pay this much for it, which was an inordinate sum, which would directly go into the pockets of the individuals, not governments, not corporations, not anybody else, directly. So each person who is alive at that time would get X amount. Let's just say they would get, I don't know, a couple of $1,000, your share of the planet. Let's just assume that, right? Let's just say a fairly substantial amount, like 10,000, which would be, the thing would cost billions or trillions, but they were very wealthy, so they could afford this. And of course, the majority voted for yes, because what difference does it make to me? I'm never going to get there. It's just free money, right? And it's the ethics of it that was the issue, right?
Mm.
They bought this planet
Yeah.
us. So it's a big point. It's a big point. And I like that. I like the sophisticated ethics of theirs, right, Bina? That they are thinking longer term. And also, because of the great gravity engines, they will pay attention. If somebody says, look, let's say there's a planet or a group of planets that's saying, look, we're a bit crowded here. We need space. Yes, we didn't pay attention to population control, blah, blah, blah. But of course, now we will. But still, we're a bit cramped. Is there a possibility of us, there's a planet that's relatively close to us. Yes, I know we don't have the transport to get there, but if you help us to settle it, and of course we'll pay you to transport people back and forth, etc. But all right, but nonetheless, so now in such situations like that, then this becomes an ag-wide vote. Again, they don't have to pay for it, but everybody in the ag says, okay, planet Triptyon or whatever it's called, yes, they can have planet Exelion next door to it. All right, cool. Yeah, nobody's using it. I mean, there's plenty of planets. It's not an issue, right? And they're not affecting. There's no, sentient life there, whatever. And all those considerations go into things too. You're not taking it away from anybody and all that. And I like this. I like the ethics of it, right? And that this is very careful, because you can't assume that just because your galaxy is underpopulated right now, that in the future it's not going to be. It's like Earth, right? I mean, there's no real free land on Earth anymore, right? Yeah. Yes, Bina? So we have to think in the future too, right? When the galaxy is full, we have to consider that also. Yeah. We don't always necessarily be keep
Like
expanding just for the sake of expanding. Go ahead, Bina.
Okay. Yes. Hello?
I'm here. I'll come back in a moment.
Okay.
I'm just I
No
was just keen
problem.
to hear some of your comments on this, the
Okay.
ethics involved.
Yeah.
Where are you? What do you think, Bina, of this policy of the new nobility?
I love this because you know that I shared this story
Yeah.
as a teenager. So actually I was too young at the time, but still I had this idea that okay, why they are doing this?
Yes.
So I love this. I love their thinking, their consideration of all these things. They were not bound to, like everybody else is doing everything, whatever we want to. But they were doing that, and that is a big deal.
Keep going. I'm just typing something here real quick. Sorry, I am taking a digression.
No. And I think that okay, we have it for today. It's already done. We have reached the point.
It's time. Oh, okay.
Yes. So it's okay to think about it. And
Oh,
then
perfect.
we
Let's end on that point
this.
then. I didn't realize it was there. It went so quick, the time. Wow.
Yes.
We just got started.
Yes,
Really?
we can we can start from this point tomorrow and
Correct. It's a
and
good point
discuss all
to
these
continue.